I'm Elena Phelan, the polyamorous librarian, and it's been a couple of days. I knew the date. I think it's the 24th. Might be the 25th. I'm not really sure. It's a Thursday. It's February. It's been a difficult couple of days because we have I was going to say snowstorm, but it's not. It's actually, I think, going to be freezing rain coming in, which means there's some pressure changes, which means everybody who gets migraines, like this person, is going to be miserable or has been miserable for the past 2 days. So even my roommate who gets migraines, very different ones from me, but gets migraines, even her migraines are having like different symptoms. So like my ears are very stuffy from all the pressure changes, and she's even getting tinnitus, which is what I usually get. And she's like, is tinnitus like a mosquito-y sound almost? And I'm like, it can be, yeah. And she's like, oh my God, I hate it. I was like, yeah. So my tinnitus is really bad, and my head hurts and has a lot of pressure in it. My face feels huge, so I'm like covering half of it. And I feel like my face is puffy. I don't know if it's actually puffy, but it feels incredibly puffy. And I have been forgetful. Like I forgot to put the grocery order in last night, and I'm out of butter. And she thought I had put the grocery order in, so she like used the very last of the butter. And she's like, oh, okay, do you need me to go to the store? Because I would really prefer not to go to the store, because she's got her own stuff where she's got health issues and she just wants to come home from work and just crash out, and she doesn't want to actually go to the store, which is why I was supposed to put the order in. And I was like, no, it's fine. I have like cooking butter and I'm just using it for like eggs, so it's fine. So whatever, but it's been a shitty couple of days. And then on top of that, I'm writing this memoir, and I've gotten to the part where I'm supposed to be writing about my recent relationships and the women in my recent relationships, the ones that I have like loved and lost. And one of those people that I lost, literally, she died, and I have been putting off writing about these relationships, and you can tell because now I am dreaming about these people, and my subconscious is like, if you don't work on this consciously, I'm going to work on it for you. So this is not bad enough that I wake up in pain after going to bed in pain. I have to be in pain in my dreams as well. One of the things that I've joked about over the past couple of years since my health took a turn is that my subconscious has been an angel to me, because, you know, I can't like run anymore. Like I was getting into like jogging and stuff before I got really sick, and I just started dreaming about jogging. So it's like, okay, you can't do this, but at least when you close your eyes, we'll give you a little reprieve and let it, you know, happen. Or one of my biggest recurring dreams is that I am at an amusement park, and like for the first couple of years that I was really, really sick, I would dream that I was like going down a lazy river, because like my sense of how I felt when my eyes were open and while I was asleep was like this. So my brain would just like be like, oh, we're on a lazy river, we're floating, we're bobbing. And then I would wake up and I'd be like, oh, which is interesting, right? Like it can tell that there's something wrong. I'm jogging, I'm on a river, but it wouldn't wake me up for the nausea. Like it wouldn't, my stomach wouldn't realize how nauseated I was. I think that's really interesting stuff. Like, the human body's so weird and annoying. So I'm just having a time, but I dyed my hair and I cut it more because I guess I'm just going to keep doing that now. I did this all by myself, which is exactly what I wanted it to do, which was to get the black to blend in with what was left of the red, which was like fading to like a brown, and then down into the, it's hard to see, but there's like a lighter part where the bleach and the green was, and then down into the blue, and then I did a little bit of the edges as black as they would go. Unfortunately, not all of them took because I guess they're saturated with the blue. I did my best. It was making me feel better because I gotta tell you, that blue that I put on, it was like, no thank you. We don't like gray, I guess, which is weird because I've done it all before. I don't know. But this is exactly what I wanted it to do. I'm trying to grow it out, and the best way for me to do it is to not absolutely hate it. And every day I was looking at it in the mirror and going, ugh, that blue did not take. Because I was hoping for like blue into red, into green, into blue. And I did not get that. I got like crap into red, into green, into a different shade of blue. Oh, it was bad, it was bad, it was bad. I don't know. Anyway, this will keep me chill for a little bit, I hope. But this drives, I hate in between hair. This might take, and then it might all just be gone. I don't know. Or I might just be all in wigs for like ever. I thought I had a second wig. I haven't found it yet. But if it looks like regular people hair, then that just might be how I spend like the next 6 months of my life until all this comes down to here, and then I'll grow it all. Who knows? Otherwise, I finished all 3 of those books in like 5 days because it turns out every single one of them was excellent. I guess I wasn't really joking about the duds except for that one cookbook, which was not nachos for dinner. I want to be very clear. It was not nachos for dinner. That wasn't a dud. It was just not my jam. My cat is now opening the door because she knows how. Rude. She's like, am I allowed in? Does rude mean no? They're like impolite and polite in like whenever they feel like it in different ways. I don't know. But a cat taught her how to open doors, and she has been excited about that ever since. Okay, so I'm caught up through March 1st. I'm super excited about it because that means I have a couple more days of this month to read whatever the hell I want. I read Nick Stone's Clean Getaway for my book club. I was really excited to read it because I got it right before the pandemic at ALA Midwinter in Philadelphia, and Nick Stone signed it, and Nick Stone smiles at me, and she's so pretty. I had been looking forward to reading the book, but it was middle grade, and I had sort of put it off because I was not in a middle grade mood through the pandemic. I wanted moody stuff. I don't know. And it was a great book. It's about a kid who is having problems with his dad, and so when his grandmother shows up in a brand new RV and is like, road trip, he gets in without thinking, and the road trip does not go the way that he expected. And it is a great combination of interesting facts about Black history and some tension and thoughtfulness And at one point I got a little bit of a tummy ache. I was a little worried and stressed. But it's very good. It really is one of those like middle grade books that you can give to a kid and it'll get like a bunch of different kids for a bunch of different reasons. Some kids will relate to it because they have like a strict parent or a grandparent that they really love, or they will relate to it because they have some of the problems that are in the book, that are, I don't want to get into because they're really spoilery. This book is a ride. Like, you start in one place and you end up somewhere completely different, like not just emotionally, but and not just in terms of where you are, because it's a road trip book, but it will also appeal to kids who like to know about history. It'll also appeal to kids who are mixed race. It'll also appeal to kids who maybe don't like, who the main character does not know his mother, and that is a big deal for him. And there's also that element, you know, those kids who like really love books about like broken, damaged families, even though they come from totally fine families. This is another book that they can read, and it'll sneak at them, because at first when you read it, it does not feel like that. But yeah, all families are different, and that's a really bad paraphrase, but it's really interesting to see how you can have this kid who, you know, starts out just seeming like a kid who's mad at his dad and loves his grandmother, and then go through a history of who he is and who his family is and how they got to where they are emotionally, and realize that families are these incredibly complex things, that kids can choose to interact with certain parts of that and not interact with other parts of it, because they can be kids. And that's a really great lesson. This book has a really great lesson in it without feeling like it's hammering you over the head. In fact, there are multiple lessons in it, but the one that I think that does the best job is, in terms of being incredibly subtle, is just teaching kids that they are themselves, and in that they should be able to choose for themselves, not just talking about having agency and consent and all those other things, but also like at what rate they grow up. I think that's really important, and it's not a lesson that we get to see very often in books. I think there's a lot of stories out there that are like, oh, well, this is a story about how children were forced to grow up too soon. Or, you know, here's the story of what happens when you are asked to be a child for too long. But this is a particular kind of agency that we don't get to see a lot, which is where children get to say for themselves, okay, I want to still maintain, and it's not innocence. It's more like, I know that I am not mature enough for certain things in my life, and that's okay. So, yeah, Clean Getaway, Nick Stone. Really just a great middle grade book. So the books that I was going to read that are coming out March 1st. You know, I don't have them written down in front of me because that would be too reasonable. That would make too much sense. But the first one is Remy K. England's The One True Me and You. And sometimes I wish that I did not make these videos my like have fun with makeup time, because I cried literally somewhere between 8 and 10 times reading this book, and I lost count because I felt at a certain point that it was like the ocean, where, you know, the wave comes in and then it goes out, but maybe it's actually part of the next wave. That's how I felt about the crying I did with this book. So much crying. But like happy tears. I do, so Remy K. England is MK England, and I do know MK England a little tiny bit. We met when we were both librarians in New Jersey. And so like this book, I'm like, but I think this was the con that they were going to when like they stopped by the house when they were picking up our mutual friend, you know. And so once I got that out of my system, once I got that first cry out of my system, that first like, I'm so proud of this acquaintance for having this book and, you know, getting this book out there. Once I got that cry out of my system, I don't know if I like unintentionally turned on the extra waterworks, but I don't think so. I actually think this book is excellent. I enjoyed the heck out of MK England's books. I adored Remy K. England's book. It made me feel like I wished I were still a teen librarian and I could put this into the hands of every queer kid. And it made me, as a nerd, feel seen. It made me wish that we weren't in a pandemic and that these kids didn't have to live through a pandemic. Oh, my fake crying and real crying blended together. My nose started to run. Great. It's also freezing in here. You know, what with the ice coming in and all. It's about two teenagers who, one is a pageant queen who is looking to win this pageant this weekend to have scholarship money to pay for school, and is lesbian and kind of a secret nerd and has to hide these things to make sure that she wins the pageant. She gets to the hotel, finds out there's a con there for her favorite Sherlock Holmes related show. And then at the con, there's someone there who is a fanfiction writer who has some goals for the weekend, including using they them pronouns for the first time. And it's just a very teens being teens book, and it's a very people at cons book. It feels very real. It does not need a lot of extra drama put on top. It has so many feelings even without it, which is one of the things I love about it. It doesn't try to put extra plot in, because teenagers existing is a lot. And navigating their feelings and identity and what's important to them is what's important and can be on the page without, you know, yes, there is a very sort of stereotypical antagonist in this. However, she's not trying to be, you know, like a movie antagonist. She's just a bully and a jerk in the way that teenagers can be bullies and jerks. And that's, you know, another thing that I really love about this book. But yeah, it is a feels book. Just so many feels, and I just absolutely adored it. So it's called The One True Me and You. The author's name is Remy K. England. So proud. I really just absolutely loved it. Just loved it so much. Okay, next book. So there's a book called The Atlas Six, and apparently it is self-published by Olive E. Blake, and is getting published by a major publisher because some people have read it, started talking about a book talk and Bookstagram, I guess, and it got so much buzz that a major publisher decided to pick it up, and so it's going to be published on the 1st. And so I was like, okay, fine, I'll check it out. I got approved. They call it dark academia, and that would be like, I guess, The Magicians and like then Last Graduate, and I don't know, but the question is whether or not it lived up to the hype. Yes. Yes. Oh my God, yes. So you read the first chapter and it's like kind of like it reads almost pretentiously, and I'm like, oh God, is this going to be pretentious? And then it's not. It's really not. Like there's a lot of philosophical thought in it, but like that's the academia part of dark academia, right? Like they are seeking knowledge, but also imagine The Magicians without Quentin, but then like with way more people playing mind games. Yeah. Like the whole thing is a mind game because you've got all these people who have different powers, and some of those powers are intensely manipulative just on their base, and then on top of that you have a class of 6 and one of them has to be eliminated by the end. So you've got people coming in and trying to make alliances, and then you've got those people using their powers and to influence other people, and using what those powers, like what people's powers are, to decide whether or not that they have worth. And it is just a bunch of mindfuckery, and then on top of that the plot itself has some mindfuckery in it for you, the reader, as well. And so yeah, it definitely did what it was supposed to do. So I'm very much looking forward to the second book, The Atlas Six. Yeah. Did not expect it. I honestly was just like, well, let's see what these bookstagrammers and book talkers think is a good book. I'm sure it's all vibes. I'm kind of an asshole sometimes. I just legitimately thought it would be very like YA in the ways that I don't like YA, and it's not even YA, first off. It's not. But it's just me. I went in thinking that because something was popular that I wouldn't like it. How very silly of me. Bad me. Final book, Tell Me an Ending by Joe Harkin. It's a multiple point of view, which is like not to say that the Atlas Six is not. It's a multiple point of view science fiction, literary book, which means people are going to call it speculative fiction, which means it's about your feelings. It's not an adventure thriller. It's not a hard science. It's not set in space. It is people living in a world where memories can be erased. It was very thoughtful, intense at points, mysterious. You don't know who the people are or how they're connected. You just assume that they must be connected because you're reading each of them. And so there is that mysterious element for you as a reader. I really enjoyed it. It does have that thing where, like, you know that people are going to be like, well, this book is, speculative fiction, it's literary, it's going to be compared to Station 11. You know what? People don't want to pigeonhole them by calling them what the fuck they are, which is freaking sci-fi and speculative fiction, and they belong in the sci-fi section, the SFF, sci-fi fantasy speculative fiction section of the library. They belong on our lists, not your fucking pretentious. This drives me up a wall every freaking time someone writes a really good book, but it's thoughtful. It's about the human condition. Oh, so much science fiction is about the human condition, but it also has, I don't know, like robots and like ship chases and shit. I don't know. Spaceships going after each other. Things going beep bop boop. I don't freaking care. The thing is like, I know that a book like this is going to end up either falling through the cracks or it's going to get swept up like Station 11 did, like A Visit from the Goon Squad did, and get pulled into the orbit of literary fiction when it is blatantly a genre book. And it's such crap that this happens year after year after year. And why? Because you wouldn't want to pigeonhole a book like that. You wouldn't want to, like, call it what it is. A genre read. Recently one of the things that has been going on is that people have been complaining about putting, I want to say, Colleen Hoover's books on romance lists by publications that don't usually have shit to do with romance. And Colleen Hoover's books are not romance because romance dictates, the genre dictates that you must have a happy or optimistic ending. And Colleen Hoover's books are romantic, maybe. I don't know. I haven't read them. But they're not, by definition, romance. And yet people keep putting them on there, I guess, because they have people in relationships in them. It is the same thing that happened to, like, Nicholas Sparks and so on and so forth. But there's this thing that happens with literary fiction, which is that if someone writes something and someone thinks that it's smart and they want to love it, they'll just, reclassify it out of its genre. It'll defy its genre. But it doesn't defy shit. It's just a really good example of it. This is why Nicholas Sparks, by the way, is not romance. it just hurts my feelings. But the point is this is a really, really good book. It is, it's really smart. It's really about human beings being human beings in this speculative world. I saw it called Black Mirror meets Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I did not make it through Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. I guess I did, but like with this look on my face. Because I like, I have this thing when I can't quite tell if the author is deconstructing something or not. And I know people feel this way about John Green, but I legitimately think that he was deconstructing things through most of his big points in YA. People who like Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind will argue that he's deconstructing things, and people who don't like it, the ones that I've talked to anyway, seem to think that he wasn't doing a very good job of it if he was, and that they just did not want to sit through that trope again. And yeah, that's fair. So, Black Mirror, I I mean, if you want to, if I were going to say that, I would say like later Black Mirror, where things don't seem as, where you don't, the very end of Black Mirror, where the last season or so, I can't really remember. I didn't watch it. I got sick when it started coming out, and so I didn't really watch it like at the same time as everybody else. I finished it up like at the beginning of or the middle of the pandemic or something. Yeah, I maybe the end of Black Mirror where he the person who was doing Black Mirror sort of eased up on feeling like everything had to be awful and pain and tragic, and maybe sometimes you could just do something that is kind of a funny ending or heartwarming or something, or at the very least doesn't end with people going, does this book end nicely? I'm not telling you. But I'm just saying that like if you're I would not have put Black Mirror as a comparison. I think that these, what they call comps, where they have to compare everything to everything else right now, is, it's not my favorite, like at all. I would not have said Black Mirror. And I wouldn't have said Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind. It's actually something they reference in the book. Like, the movie exists in the book. It exists. Whatever. It's funny, too, because they joke about the technology and how that's not how it really works. But yeah, the book's really good. I really liked it a lot. I feel like all 4 books this week that I got to. I mean, I've also read like 5 comics or something. Weavers was really interesting. Simon, I want to say Spurrier. I don't know. I read Weavers. I read a bunch of stuff like in the morning because it was all gonna expire. Hoopla does this thing once a quarter called bonus borrows, where they just have like a list of things that you can take out for free that don't cut into your takeouts, your checkouts. So I just took out like basically every comic that I hadn't already read. So there is some pretty interesting stuff in there. There's one about a woman who has a baby and she doesn't know like if something bad is happening in her new house, or if she's just really, really tired from having a baby. Those are always interesting stories. I think it's called The Man Who Came Down the Stairs. I had some problems getting to sleep this morning. And so like that's what I did. I knocked out like all my bonus borrows. And so they're all a little foggy because I was really tired, but I couldn't get my brain to like accept that it was time to go to sleep. Some days are just like that. So coming up, I have Lake Lore and One for All, which is supposed to be like a gender bent musketeers. The main character has POTS, which is one of the things that I keep getting tested for. So I thought that might be interesting. And I have an acquaintance who has POTS, and so I thought it would be interesting to read more about the condition that she has. And yeah, but that's not until the 8th. So I'm like, what do I do? Also, I got 3 new books in on NetGalley this week already. I swear I thought that I had stopped requesting things. But one of them is the new Sean and Maguire, the sequel or a companion or whatever to Middle Game. And I'm like, do I have to reread Middle Game? Because I will. Because I've completely forgotten almost all of it, except that it was amazing. Do I have time to reread Middle Game when I have 7 Sean and Maguire books in my house I haven't read yet? Should I just read them? Or maybe just Dying with Her Cheer Pants On, or maybe just Square 3, or maybe I can't do this. I can't choose. I don't know what to do. This is why I don't, this is why NetGalley actually helps me. It like gives me a schedule and I just want to read something super chill. My life is great. It's fine. It's fine. I'm going to go figure out what book to read next. It'll be great. It'll be fantastic. I tried to do something with the new like Catwoman palette. I was trying for like something chill and subtle. It's not bad. I mean, for me, like the colors are great, but